Hey guys, me Sam Stein, managing editor Bulwark, here with Tim Miller again. We did this last night. We're doing a follow-up today. Jimmy Kimmel, the fallout, everything that's happening. Kind of predictable, Tim, to see where it is. But yeah, we've seen a lot of the kind of free speech bro podcast types not too happy about this.
Yeah, I think that it is. On the one hand, it's kind of predictable, yes. On the other hand, it's a little bit of a pleasant surprise. Like, we do a lot of negative news around here, right? Like, just as far as how many of them have spoken out about it, it's the type of thing you could just ignore. And none of these guys, it'd be one thing if it was like they're coming from one of them. None of these guys that we're about to talk about, who are podcasters, comedians, sports guys, they might seem to somebody who's outside of that world to be in the same world as Jimmy Kimmel, but like they're really not. Like, Jimmy is a different generation than them. Right. They don't have any love lost for the network liberal.
They don't even find him funny. They're like, I didn't like his joke. They're like, it's stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. None of them really find him funny. Right. So for these guys, like, they could have just ignored this, right? Like that's, one thing that you see oftentimes when there's inconvenient facts out there in the news. And so the fact that so many of them have spoken out, I think, is pretty noteworthy.
Okay. Which one did you find most noteworthy?
That's a good question. I think the Barstool guys pushing back against the Dave Portnoy, because, for folks who know, obviously Barstool is, kind of the irreverent sports focused podcast, but they've expanded into a bunch of culture areas. Sure. Portnoy is the founder of that. He came out pretty quickly, like basically on the side of canceling Kimmel.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I have it right here.
I think so. He was trying to draw some artificial distinction, but yes, he defended the cancellation.
Yeah, he's trying to say, look, a lot of these guys were all upset about the cancel culture during the woke period. They're like, people came after Portnoy. Like, there was this period of time where it was in vogue to, like, anytime somebody got a new job, to go through tweets they sent from 8 years before, and if they found something racist they said in there, they try to get them fired.
In Portnoy's case, it was women who had come forward to accuse him of sexual misconduct, who he then denied and said this is inflammatory and baseless and all that.
So this was a very common thing that was happening, whether or not, whatever side you were on it. Portnoy is obviously against that since he was a target of it. And so he comes out pretty quickly and says, guys, this isn't hypocrisy. This is not cancel culture. This is Jimmy Kimmel saying something on a show that embarrassed the network and him having consequences for it. And so he kind of comes out in favor of this move. And so that's what I thought the most interesting thing was coming from other big Barstool characters who push back on it. Maybe we can watch a couple of those clips.
Let's watch the one first from KFC Barstool.
Now, the next part of this situation, Nexstar announced that they were trying to merge with their biggest rival that would create this one gigantic media conglomerate, but the problem was that kind of violates FCC rules about how much power one group can have on television. But just recently, Brendan Carr, our boy Mr. Hypocrite, said that his mind was open to getting rid of those artificial limits on how many TV stations one company can own. Now, how do Nexstar and Carr connect? Well, Brendan Carr went on a podcast and said he believes the individual licensed stations are the ones that need to step up and say, we don't want Jimmy Kimmel. So Nexstar, who's trying to get this merger done and needs to break the rules and needs the FCC to change their mind on some of the laws, sees Brendan Carr saying, here's what I want from you guys. And they say, let's fucking give it to him so that we can get our merger done and get our $6.2 billion. It's always about the money. It's never about the free speech. It's never about protecting rights. It's always about the money and how to get it. I was dead wrong. Shit is fucked on so many levels.
So yeah, like, I agree with you. In fact, I think the notable thing here is that they're coming out and they're being like, okay, maybe it's not cancel cultural, but it's worse. Yeah. Right? It's like the government here is now involved in going after people, whereas during cancel culture it was a mob of online sickos who are saying, oh, this tweet is offensive, and I get why it might be worse. I get why they say that. So I do agree with you. I think that's notable. I think it's notable because precisely they're saying, or at least casting themselves a little bit differently than Dave is.
Yeah, and because you could see, again, like I said, you could see them saying like, the big guys on the other side of this. Why draw attention? Who cares? I'll talk about something else today, right? Like they didn't. There was no obligation to talk about this story. Yeah. So the fact that they chose to, I think, shows it was like a legitimate reaction. I think the other thing about that KFC clip, I do want to point out. Sometimes on the left, you see people really kind of stereotype the bro culture and be like, these guys are idiots or whatever. They just want to do boobs and stuff. That dude, like, that's a pretty like nuanced and thoughtful.
No, it was very well thought out. Yeah.
And so I do think that like sometimes a lot of people who don't ever actually see any of these guys, except if it shows up in their Twitter feeds with them saying something dumb, and then they're like, wow, those shows are dumb. It's like, no, actually, some of them, at least not everybody, like anything else, but some of them are super thoughtful, and I think that's noteworthy. The more aggressive version of this.
Wait! I got to stay on topic because my favorite response was also in Barstool. It wasn't on video. It was on Twitter. It's Barstool Eric Nathan. Sorry, he tweeted about this, and he's like, "Look, this is, you might think Kimmel's terrible, not funny, whatever, but this is, overreach." I think he said. Yeah, he said this is overreach and pretty insane. Wish people didn't let political affiliation blur how bananas things are right now. Whatever, that's standard, anger over what happened. But the best part was some random person in his replies goes, what the fuck does MAGA and an employer that has to answer sponsors and ad dollars have to do with this? You think Trump called and said cancel or else? And then, like, just a stream of replies being like, yes, exactly. That's exactly what happened. I mean, like, you literally go down the feed and it's like, first Barstool Nate's like, I mean, this is almost exactly what happened. LOL. Glad you see how crazy it is. And then everyone else is like, yes, that's what happened. This is what happened. And so there is some aversion to what's happening.
Okay, so the other one was a Barstool one I think is important, and I did play this for JVL. This was even got the dark heart of JVL at the end of today's podcast. I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen the podcast, but you even see the dark heart of JVL crack after listening to this. But let's listen to the Kirk Minihane show. Kirk Minihane does actual. He has a different show where he's on with Portnoy. So again, like, this is not even just an employer. It's like a direct rebuttal. Let's watch.
I always do the left or no. Right now in 2025 at 10:06 on September 18th, the extreme right are the biggest group of pussies that has ever existed in America. A bunch of, because people with green hair at Starbucks, and because once in a while a fucking guy swam against girls, you fucking pussies have broken in half, led by the duo of Donald Trump and Consequence Culture Portnoy, who is just waving his arms at the right to like him again after the thing last week where he said it was Trump's fault, privately and publicly, that Charlie Kirk died. Now he's like, I got to get them back. Typical, I will say, fits the tribe profile.
All right. So that dude, Minihane, is
kind of into him.
Is like, yeah, I'm kind of into him too. But here's the thing, man. That dude is like a conservative. We were talking about this a little bit in the green room. It's worth talking about. Some of these guys like aren't really like even MAGA or traditional. Like, they're not church going. Like, whatever you think is the typical like conservative. Like, they're culturally in the conservative milieu now, right, for the moment.
But I felt like they were mostly drawn there because they just thought liberals were so fucking natty and annoying, and like
COVID. A lot of it was COVID, right?
Yeah.
They didn't like the rules. It's more like kind of libertarian, not in like the principled libertarian sense, but just in the sense of like, get off my fucking back, libertarian sense. And that dude is out there not just saying that this is bad and wrong, not just doing the, well, like, oh, this is a chill on free speech. He's out there being like, not only is this a chill on free speech, but these guys are fucking pussies right now, that they're complaining about this so bad. It's like, oh, you can't take a little joke from Jimmy Kimmel. Oh, the Starbucks barista is mean to you. And to me, I think that's actually super important because A, it's coming from inside the house on Barstool. B, it's using the language of Barstool to go after MAGA. It's like, stop being such snowflakes about all this. Like, so, and I think that could work, actually. That could resonate with people.
It resonates because it's true. I mean, it's
true. It's also true.
I mean, I was thinking about a lot of all this, and it's just, it kind of just boils down to is that these guys just they have the thinnest skin, right? Like, the Kimmel thing was like a line from Monday. And it wasn't even that, it wasn't funny particularly, but it wasn't like wildly offensive as far as everything else goes. But they have just really thin skin. And so Trump's on Air Force One. And this is the quote he says today after all this. He says, when you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative one in years or something. When you go back and take a look, all they do is hit Trump. And he's just complaining about it. And he says 97% of them are against him. They're getting a license. I think maybe their licenses should be taken away. It's just he's got really thin fucking skin. He said they're not allowed to do it. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that, to hit Trump. I mean, give me a break, man.
He's always had thin skin. That's been the
I know.
Forever. So we went after Spy magazine for what they make fun of his small hands.
Small hands.
Yeah, the tiny hands.
Midget hands, yeah.
And this is like a 40-year-old story at this point. It's fucking.
I know, but you would think at a certain point, like, you're the most powerful dude in the world. Like, you got billions of dollars, gone through shady means, but whatever, you got the money. Like, you can do whatever you want. Like, give it a rest. Who cares? But not this man. There is nothing that can't get under his skin.
I want to talk about a couple other ones. And
sure.
Now that's more into the sports kind of culture space, and there's the comedy culture space.
Right.
And so we can kind of lump all these together. I guess the first one I'll throw out there is, because I've been talking about him a lot, so if you're following the feed closely.
Tim Dillon?
You know that I'm talking about Tim Dillon.
Yes. It's so good.
Tim Dillon right now. Because his shit is so funny. And sometimes it's like, it's a little like, all right. Oh wait, I forgot I was watching a MAGA podcast right now. Occasionally happens to me, but dude is relentless, and I think it's important. And here, and this, he posts an Instagram post today.
Instagram post is really funny.
Yeah, it's like, and here it is. We'll put it up on the screen. And he talks about how this is a bad sign. And then he makes a joke at the end about how he's going to continue to support Israel because Tim Dillon has
unconditionally. In all of its actions.
The other thing he's been pointing out is that, like, the people have been like the cancel culture for the administration has been coming for people that criticize Israel, now, in addition to people who criticize Trump. So he's making a gag on that. That's pretty funny. Andrew Schultz made a post. He's another one of these podcast guys. The guy Pete Buttigieg went on. Maybe people remember that. He's on the show Tires, which is really funny. And his post is a little bit more kind of both sidesy.
Yeah.
But again, we'll take it. Moving from doing Trump apologia to both sidesy is directionally
really
the right.
Get the first part of the post, but I'm sure I can.
It's not the best post. We'll skip it. I just thought it was worth noting that again, just to show the breadth of this. Here's his co-host, though. Actually,
yes,
Akash Singh on his podcast. It's the Flagrant Pod, and this dude. Anyway, let's just watch it.
Jimmy Kimmel should be allowed to say the things we didn't like. Mm-hmm. That's just what America is.
Yeah.
And freedom of speech, I've seen it truly under attack in India, where it's like you can go to jail. This is closer to that than I think what the left was doing.
Yeah.
Which is like the FCC putting, as much as we didn't like left-wing shit, like far left policy or far left whatever thoughts, it wasn't like Joe Biden was putting pressure on somebody to get canceled for saying retard. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what makes this different and scarier to me and closer to what India has. Then that's what makes it an actual attack on free speech to me.
Yeah.
So there it is right there at the end. As much as we hated left-wing shit, this is different and scarier.
Yes,
and
that's what he said. That's my point. They're like, they're able to process that this is like a level beyond because the power of the state is behind it.
If you put this into the bigger context, right, of like the changing vibes around all this.
Sure.
If you're these guys, like, what are the big issues that you were talking about the like, what moved you to the right? You're a fucking comedian, so obviously you care about free speech, right? Like, you obviously care, and you did not like the cancel culture. You didn't like the woke scolding. You didn't like. These were pretty minor complaints in the grand scheme of things, but it is true that the Biden administration did go to the tech companies about certain misinformation posts.
Okay. Can I just be? I want to be clear. My understanding of that is that Rob Flaherty reached out to a contact at Facebook and said, "Hey, can you take this shit down?" Like that was the extent of it.
Yeah, no, it was mid-level Biden.
It wasn't like Joe Biden telling like.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that did happen. That happened.
Yeah,
and they had
sure,
complaints about it.
Sure.
They complained about it. I don't think it's
Zuckerberg acted like he had been like his fortune had been ripped apart. By the
Joe Zuckerberg thought that was the biggest threat to free speech in the history of the society. That one of his mid-level staffers got emailed from one of Biden's mid-level flunkies with a request that they didn't follow.
I mean, the thing about that, I guess, is that. Like I had mid-level Biden people screaming at me basically every day for like 3.5 years. Like that was part of life. And these platforms, what do they think that the administrations don't do that stuff? Like that always confused me. But whatever. Yes,
they also have thin skin. This is why this all goes back to people having thin skin. If you think about these guys, it was COVID restrictions, free speech stuff were basically their animating issues, frankly, and moving to the right. On top of that, because they were never really conservatives, they're not really keen on the war stuff either. Like that was another thing that drew them to Trump. Trump was kind of anti-war stuff. A lot of them were in on Epstein. issues. That's something they followed, on conspiracies, right? And they weren't big on the immigration stuff, right? Like it was like, well, whatever. I don't, you shouldn't be here illegally, but none of these guys are like immigration hardliners, right?
No.
So if you think of that basket of issues, right, of what they cared about, why they went to Trump is abandoning them on all of them. Like on literally all of them. Like on the Epstein shit, he's doing a cover up. He's on the free speech shit, he's being worse than Biden. On the no wars, and he's giving full support to Israel. Maybe mixed on that for some of them, but he's starting war with Venezuela potentially right now. We've bombed 2 boats in the Caribbean, right? Like he's not exactly going fully anti-war. And then on the immigration stuff where they weren't with him, that's the area where he's being the most aggressive, right? And so like if you just sort of think about that, I think that is meaningful because not just because these 8 comedians who have popular podcasts are changing their tone, but because they're like representative of a class of people that Trump and the Republicans did really well with that helped him win the election. And so that's
true.
noteworthy.
I think that's right. I think there's in the idea that it's representative, I think is important to discuss because look, I mean, like any entertainer with an audience, these people to a degree are a little bit captured by their audience. And by that, I mean, they want to reflect where their audiences are. And so if they're saying this stuff, it's both personal opinion coming out, but also they understand how their audiences feel. They have an intuitive understanding of that. And so I think it matters. I think it's a signifier. I don't know, who knows what it means when, you have a binary choice at the ballot box, right? Because of course these things are, not right next to an election. It's sort of in a vacuum, but I do think this is important. And I do think people are I think the Trump people I think Iglesias put this up, I think they're overreading how much people have an appetite for this status stuff. It's just who asked for this, right? Who wanted this?
And here's the other thing, not to just go too upside, not to go too positive, Tim, today, but
you're feeling positive today? I'm not.
Well, I just think this is a positive indicator, and this is the reason why. If he's going to be successful in his authoritarian takeover, right? The worst case, if he's going to be successful at squashing speech, you would begin to see signals that people are cowed, right? That they're worried, right? And that they're going to start shutting up. And we're just not seeing, we're seeing it in one area where there's one, well, we're seeing it across other institutions, but I just mean in the speech and commenting against Trump. We're seeing it one place, which is at corporate media. You do notice a lot of commentators on TV at the major outlets doing the caveats. I asked Stelter about this today, where it's this is the bad thing, but I should say also, there's a little bit of that. You do see that a little bit. But besides that, obviously independent media people aren't worried. Folks here aren't worried. Subscribe to the Bulwark. And people that are pro Trump are not afraid. So I don't know.
He's being called.
Celebrating, but that's a good sign.
No, that's fine. It's fair, and he's being called out about it. I mean, there are people on the right who have been very skeptical of this. People who are really, who slam Pam Bondi, for instance, over her hate speech remarks. There's people who on the right who've been worried about Kimmel, right? I get it. But I do think, the chilling effect is real. I know you said corporate media, and I'm just going to give you an example of corporate media for people out there. Cause I've been kind of refreshing the pages all day today, and I want to make sure I have this absolutely right, cause I would hate to be wrong about this, but the Washington Post, it is.
This has to be good news because the Washington Post has recommitted their editorial page they announced to free speech and free markets. So they've got to have weighed in on this pretty strongly, I would guess.
Right. They, up until a little while ago, it was just this afternoon, had completely avoided the Jimmy Kimmel ouster news. And only after a little while did they get the guy who is the chief counsel at the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, FIRE, which is a great institution. Did they get him to write an opinion piece on it? But if you go to their editorial page, their actual editorial page, which is where the newspaper is supposed to put its positions into print, there's nothing on Kimmel. There's something on Pam Bondi and what she said, but it's written in the left did it too type thing. There's something on Trump and TikTok, but the title is Trump's TikTok deal a triumph or a giveaway? There's nothing on Kimmel. And so like, maybe they'll have something up soon enough. I hope they do. But like, I think this is a case where outlets are like, I don't want to just deal with this trouble. I just don't want to deal with the trouble. And that is predominantly in corporate media. Like, we don't give a shit, right? But corporate media still matters. Broadcast media still matters. It reaches a lot of people. And, I find that to be obviously really concerning. But you should subscribe to the Bulwark because we don't give a shit.
There are other concerning things. I just to close, not to be Pollyanna, I did cover this with Stelter, but for folks who didn't see that, I'm deeply concerned about the local news side of it. The Sinclair, what they're doing.
Oh yeah,
like the part.
Are you excited for the Friday night Sinclair tribute to Charlie Kirk?
Yeah. Not really. The merger of Nexstar and Tegna. But like, we might be getting to a place where the local media is very Foxish in like huge swaths of the country, and that is bad. So there's a lot of stuff to be worried about. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to notice positive things when I see them. That's all.
I appreciate that. That. As Tim noted, if you like media that doesn't feel that it has to like shut up in order to get on the good side of Big Brother, subscribe to the Bulwark, including our YouTube feed. Subscribe to our Substack page. Pay for the subscription. We appreciate it. It funds good journalism like this. Tim, thank you, man. Talk to you later, buddy.
Appreciate it. Later, Holmes.